Every July, you see gardeners pulling up wilted squash or tossing out cucumber vines covered in powdery mildew. It's easy to think the heat and pests have won, and that the best days for planting are already behind you. But here's the thing, July's challenges are actually your biggest opportunity. Imagine turning July's heat into your secret strength, using it to push a whole new wave of crops that thrive when others fade. By understanding succession planting and choosing heat-loving varieties, you can replace tired spring crops with fresh, fast-growing options. This approach doesn't just fill empty space, it stretches your harvest well into late summer and even fall. If you've ever wondered how to keep your garden productive while others slow down, you're about to see why July might be the most powerful month to plant. Let's talk about why July planting matters so much. Many gardeners assume midsummer is too late to start new crops, but in reality, it's a window for extending your harvest and keeping your garden productive. The key is understanding succession planting, planting new crops right after others finish, to keep your garden from sitting empty and to ensure a steady supply of vegetables. One of the most important things to look at is days to maturity. This tells you which heat-loving crops still fit before your first frost. Many summer vegetables like beans, squash, and cucumbers can mature in just 50 to 70 days. That means you have enough time for a whole second wave of harvest, especially if you count backward from your area's average first frost date. For example, if you want broccoli or cabbage for early fall, starting seeds indoors by early July and transplanting them a few weeks later sets you up for a late-season harvest. It's true that July brings challenges: high temperatures, the risk of drought, and the worry that pests will get out of control. But these issues aren't as limiting as they seem. For example, tomatoes often stop setting fruit when daytime temperatures stay above 90 degrees Fahrenheit, but other crops like beans and zucchini keep producing. And while pests like flea beetles and aphids can be a problem in early summer, many of these insects slow down as the days get shorter past late August. To make the most of July, choose heat-tolerant or quick-maturing varieties. Keep your soil mulched to hold in moisture and help regulate temperature. Water deeply and regularly to support young seedlings through hot spells. Row covers can protect new plantings from flying pests, especially on crops like radishes, bok choy, and baby greens. By working with the season instead of against it, you set up your garden for a strong finish. Some crops are especially suited to this strategy. They grow fast, handle the heat, and can be sown right now for a fresh harvest. Let's look at two that are perfect for rapid summer succession and can transform your garden in just a few weeks. Cucumbers and zucchini stand out as some of the fastest crops you can plant in July. These rapid lifespan cucurbits germinate in just 3 to 5 days when the soil is warm, and many varieties reach harvest in under 60 days. That means you can still plant seeds now and expect a steady supply before the season ends. Succession planting, putting in a new batch every 6 weeks, keeps your garden productive and helps you dodge the mid and late summer decline that often hits older plants. One reason this strategy is so effective is that cucumbers and zucchini tend to run into specific problems as they age. Powdery mildew, for example, thrives when humidity is above 75% and temperatures top 80 degrees Fahrenheit, conditions common in midsummer. Squash bugs and heat stress also become more of an issue as the season wears on. By starting fresh plants regularly, you're giving your garden a clean slate and avoiding the buildup of these stressors. In fact, research trials found that staggering cucumber plantings every 6 weeks increased total fruit yield by 30% compared to single spring plantings. When you pull out old vines and plant new ones, you're not just making space, you're actively reducing disease and pest pressure. Clearing away old plant debris is especially important for zucchini and cucumber growers because squash vine borers overwinter in leftover vines. By removing the spent plants and cleaning up the soil surface, you break the pest's life cycle and give your next round of crops a better chance. Cucumbers and zucchini both thrive in raised beds with rich, well-drained soil. Use mulch to keep soil moisture steady and reduce the risk of powdery mildew. Drip irrigation or regular deep watering helps these heat-loving vines stay productive, even on the hottest days. Cucumbers benefit from vertical support like trellises, and pairing them with basil or dill can help deter pests naturally. Zucchini, on the other hand, needs a bit more space to spread, and using mulch can help keep powdery mildew in check. With this approach, you're not just squeezing in a last-minute crop, you're maximizing your summer harvest in a way that's proven to work. But what if you want a crop that can handle the heat and store for months after the season ends? Butternut squash stands out for its ability to handle high summer temperatures and its reputation as a reliable storage crop. If you've ever lost zucchini or pumpkins to squash vine borers, you'll appreciate that butternut's firm stems resist vine borer entry, unlike other squash types. This natural resistance means you spend less time worrying about mid-season pest damage, making butternut a lower-maintenance choice for July planting. The growing season for butternut squash is longer than many summer crops, requiring a precise 90 to 110 days to mature. Planting in July lines up your harvest with the start of fall, when the fruits reach their full flavor and sweetness. The real advantage is what happens after harvest. When properly cured and stored in a cool, dry space, 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit, butternut squash lasts 3 to 6 months. This gives you a steady supply of nutritious, dense flesh squash well into winter, long after other garden produce is gone. For gardeners with limited space or a shorter growing window, bush varieties like bush butternut are worth considering. These compact plants mature in about 90 days and fit easily into smaller beds or large containers. They offer the same pest resistance and storage benefits as the classic vining types, just in a more manageable form. Whether you have a sprawling plot or just a raised bed, there's a butternut option that can work for you. Consistent watering is key for healthy squash plants, especially during hot spells. Using a raised bed watering system delivers moisture right to the roots, and avoiding overhead watering helps prevent mildew problems. Companion planting with beans or corn can also help deter pests naturally, supporting your squash without extra chemicals. Butternut squash is a dependable choice if you want a crop that handles summer's challenges and keeps your pantry stocked well beyond the growing season. If you're looking for something that ripens faster and brings a burst of sweetness before the weather cools, there are options that can fit into even the tightest growing windows. For gardeners working with a short growing window, small melons like Kajari and Honey Rock offer a practical solution. These varieties are bred for speed. Kajari matures in about 70 days and Honey Rock in roughly 75 days, so they can be sown even in midsummer and still ripen before the first frost. This quick turnaround means you don't have to give up on enjoying homegrown melons, even when the season feels like it's slipping away. Larger melon varieties might look impressive, but they usually need a long, uninterrupted season to reach full size and sweetness. That's a challenge if you're dealing with unpredictable weather, pest pressure, or soil that dries out quickly in the heat. Smaller melons sidestep these problems. Their shorter days to maturity mean you're harvesting weeks before the big types are even close. And because their fruits are smaller, they have a lower surface-to-volume ratio, making them less prone to splitting when temperatures soar or when watering isn't perfectly consistent, a finding supported by research on melon fruit physiology. The compact size of these melons isn't just about convenience in the garden, it also means you get single-serving fruits, which are easier to store and eat without waste. For smaller households or anyone who wants a quick, sweet snack, this makes a real difference. Growing small melons successfully in the heat takes a bit of planning. These plants need plenty of space to sprawl, so let their vines cascade over the edge of raised beds or stretch out across open ground. Consistent moisture is key. Using a drip irrigation system keeps the root zone evenly moist and helps prevent the fruit from cracking, as research shows. To manage pests, row covers work well for young plants, acting as a barrier against flea beetles and other flying insects, while still letting in light and water. With careful variety selection and a few practical strategies, you can enjoy ripe, fragrant melons even in a short season. Timing and crop choice matter, especially when you're thinking about what else can handle the heat and keep producing as summer wears on. Let's look at a crop that many gardeners overlook for late summer: tomatoes. Planting tomatoes in July isn't just possible. It can be a smart move if you adjust your approach for the season's unique challenges. The main hurdles are heat stress, high humidity, and the reality of shorter days as fall approaches. When daytime temperatures climb above 85 degrees Fahrenheit, tomatoes struggle to set fruit, especially if nights stay below 55 degrees Fahrenheit. You'll often see flower drop, leaf curling, or even sun scald on exposed fruit. Shade cloth is a practical solution for protecting your plants from the harsh afternoon sun. Set it up to provide relief during peak hours without blocking all light. Mulching thickly and watering deeply also help keep roots cool and stable, which is essential for healthy growth during heat waves. Variety selection is crucial for a successful fall tomato crop. Early maturity determinate types such as Celebrity or Bush Early Girl are ideal for July planting. Bush Early Girl, for example, matures in just 55 to 60 days, so you can harvest before the first frost cuts the season short. These varieties produce a concentrated set of fruit which fits perfectly with the shorter daylight window. Spacing and airflow matter even more in late summer. In humid conditions, plant indeterminate types 18 to 24 inches apart to boost airflow and reduce the risk of fungal diseases. Avoid planting tomatoes where taller crops like trellised beans might shade them. Choose a spot that gets at least 6 hours of direct sun each day. As the season changes, light becomes a limiting factor, so every bit counts. Disease management is another area where timing makes all the difference. In humid climates, fungal blights and powdery mildew can turn up fast. Start fungicide applications at the first sign of about 5% leaf infection, following local integrated pest management guidelines. Don't wait for disease to take hold. Preventive action preserves your harvest. When fertilizing, work nutrients into the top inch of soil, keeping 4 inches away from the stem to avoid disturbing roots. With the right strategies, you can enjoy fresh tomatoes well into fall. But tomatoes aren't the only crop that can keep your kitchen stocked as the seasons shift. There's another plant that thrives with a few simple adjustments and keeps offering fresh flavor long after summer's peak. Parsley is one of those herbs that can quietly fill gaps in your raised beds and offer fresh flavor almost any time of year, but it does need a bit of planning to stay productive through summer's hottest spells. The biggest challenge with parsley in midsummer is bolting, which usually kicks in once daytime temperatures rise above 80 degrees Fahrenheit. When this happens, the plant shifts its energy into producing seeds instead of those flat, fragrant leaves you want for your kitchen. To keep parsley from bolting too soon, shade is essential. Research shows parsley tolerates up to 75% shade without sacrificing growth, so it's smart to tuck it alongside taller plants like corn or peppers. This natural shade helps keep the soil cooler and shields parsley from intense afternoon sun. If you don't have taller crops nearby, a shade cloth during peak heat hours can make a noticeable difference and still let the plant get enough light for photosynthesis. Another effective strategy is staggered planting. Instead of sowing all your parsley seeds at once, space out plantings every few weeks. Parsley seedlings typically emerge in about 14 days when soil temperatures are between 65 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. By starting new seeds in waves, you always have young plants coming up as older ones start to tire or bolt. This approach keeps your supply steady no matter how unpredictable the weather gets. Harvesting parsley the right way also boosts its longevity. Always cut the outer leaves about 1 inch above the soil, leaving the central crown untouched. This method prevents crown damage and encourages the plant to push out new growth from the center. For nutrition, gently work a balanced fertilizer into the top inch of soil, but stay at least 4 inches from the stem to avoid disturbing the roots. Mulching around the base helps retain moisture and keeps the roots cooler during heat waves. Parsley also benefits from companion planting. Growing it near aromatic herbs like dill or basil can help deter pests such as aphids, making your garden ecosystem a bit more resilient. Once summer's peak passes and the days cool, parsley becomes even more productive, bridging the gap into fall and sometimes lasting until a hard frost. If you're looking for another herb that thrives in summer and can be even more productive with the right approach, there's one that can keep pace with your kitchen's demands. Basil is a fast, resilient herb that fits right into midsummer planting plans, especially if you want a crop that keeps up with your kitchen. When you plant basil in waves, sowing new seeds every 2 to 3 weeks, you set yourself up for a steady supply of fresh leaves all summer. Basil seeds sprout quickly, usually in 5 to 7 days at 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and plants can reach a harvestable size in about 21 to 28 days during peak warmth. This quick turnaround means you can always have a new batch coming up just as older plants start to slow down or bolt. Downy mildew is a major threat to basil, especially in humid weather. This disease, caused by Peronospora belbari, can yellow and spot leaves in a matter of days, often wiping out whole plantings if not managed early. Selecting disease-resistant varieties like Prospera makes a big difference. Prospera was specifically bred to resist downy mildew so you can keep harvesting even when conditions favor disease. For added protection, rotate fungicide function groups, such as FRAC Group 11 and 17 products, if you need to spray, to help prevent resistance, following integrated pest management guidelines. Basil loves heat, but it can still suffer if exposed to intense afternoon sun, especially when temperatures climb above 90 degrees Fahrenheit. To keep plants lush, provide 20 to 30% shade cloth, which studies show can lower leaf temperature by up to 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Alternatively, use natural shade from nearby plants or position containers where they get relief in the hottest part of the day. Even regular watering helps avoid curled or bitter leaves and keeps growth steady. Regular harvesting is essential. Snip stems above a pair of leaves to encourage bushy regrowth and prevent early flowering. Basil also pairs well with tomatoes, repelling pests like thrips and helping reduce tomato hornworm pressure, another reason to make it a staple in your summer garden. With these simple steps, succession planting, disease-resistant varieties, and the right care, you can keep your basil coming all season. There's another summer crop worth considering that brings both fragrance and versatility to your garden and kitchen. Lemongrass stands out for its ability to bring both function and fragrance to your summer garden. This heat-loving herb adds a subtle citrus aroma and a striking vertical accent, making it as practical as it is attractive. Lemongrass thrives when planted in July, handling high temperatures with ease and offering plenty of uses in the kitchen. Starting lemongrass from seed is possible, but it takes patience. Seeds typically need 14 to 21 days to germinate at soil temperatures of 70 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're looking for a simpler option, plant a sprouted rhizome. For best results and to avoid introducing disease, source certified disease-free starter plants from a reputable nursery rather than using grocery store stocks. Once nighttime temperatures stay above 55 degrees Fahrenheit, you can move your lemongrass outdoors, where it will quickly establish in the heat. If you live in a colder climate, you'll need to plan for overwintering. Transplant lemongrass into a container with at least a 5-gallon capacity to give its rhizomes room to expand. Before the first frost, bring the plant indoors for 6 to 8 weeks, providing a 12 to 14-hour photo period with grow lights or a bright window to prevent premature flowering. Water less frequently during this period, but don't let the soil dry out completely. When spring returns, lemongrass can go back outside for another productive season. In the garden, lemongrass forms dense, arching clumps of green blades that work well as a border or in mixed beds. Its ornamental value is matched by its culinary uses. The stalks add bright flavor to soups, curries, and teas, while the leaves can be steeped for herbal infusions. Harvest by cutting stalks near the base and peeling back the tough outer layers to reach the tender core. The plant is generally pest-resistant, but check for spider mites or scale, and address any issues promptly with insecticidal soap or neem oil. Lemongrass shows how a single plant can serve multiple roles in a summer garden, bringing aroma, structure, and flavor. If you're interested in crops that offer long-term rewards and form the backbone of countless meals, there are other options you can plant now that will pay off for months to come. Onions and shallots offer a straightforward way to keep your kitchen stocked with staples that hold up for months after harvest. These crops suit July planting well, especially if you choose varieties bred for heat tolerance and good storage. For white onions, Stuttgarter Riesen is a reliable choice, while red Zeppelin is a strong option for red onions. Both are known for handling summer heat and curing well. When planting in midsummer, pay attention to days to maturity. Selecting quick maturing or heat-tolerant types helps you match the remaining season to your first frost date, so your harvest is ready before cold weather arrives. Shallots also respond well to July planting, forming clusters of bulbs that store just as well as onions. Succession planting can stretch your harvest window, giving you more flexibility and making the most of your garden space. The curing process is where a lot of the shelf life is determined. After you pull your onions and shallots, cure them in a well-ventilated area at 75 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit with 65 to 75% humidity for 10 to 14 days. This lets the outer layers dry and the necks tighten, which seals out moisture and reduces the risk of rot or mold. Make sure the tops and roots are completely dry before trimming them. Once cured, store your bulbs at 32 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit with 60 to 70% humidity to minimize sprouting and rotting. A cool basement, root cellar, or even a ventilated pantry can work, as long as the space stays dry and dark. Onions and shallots are versatile staples in numerous cuisines, adding depth to soups, stews, sauces, and more. Growing your own gives you control over freshness and variety, and even a modest harvest can make a noticeable difference in your meals throughout fall and winter. By planning for proper curing and storage, you extend the usefulness of what you grow, reducing trips to the store, and making your garden more productive. Choosing to plant onions and shallots in July is a practical way to keep your harvest going. This approach not only fills your pantry, but also shows how midsummer planting can change the way you think about your garden's potential. Taking advantage of July's heat with crops that mature in 50 to 70 days means you can stretch your harvest well into fall, instead of letting your garden sit idle. This approach turns what many see as a downtime into a productive stretch for your raised beds. Nicole Burke points out in her Gardenery blog post, Why You Should Never Leave Your Garden Bare in Summer, that leaving beds empty is the biggest missed opportunity. Each planting now sets you up for more food and stronger soil later in the year. Share your favorite July planting wins in the comments to inspire others. July planting harnesses heat-tolerant, fast-maturing crops to keep your garden thriving right up to frost.